Alright, after talking about subliminal messages, I'm going to pick up and talk about sleep now in part 3 of chapter 4, consciousness. What is sleep? First, we have to talk about circadian rhythms. These are biological patterns that occur at regular intervals as a function of time of day. Circadian roughly translates to about a day. Sleep is an altered state of consciousness. The average person sleeps around 8 hours per night, but individuals differ tremendously in the number of hours they sleep. Bright light can suppress the production of melatonin, whereas darkness can trigger its release. The sleeping brain. Information about light detection by the eyes is sent to a small region of the hypothalamus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. This region then sends signals to a tiny structure called the pineal gland. The pineal gland then secretes melatonin, a hormone that travels through the bloodstream. The pineal gland and the sleep-wake cycle. Changes in the light register in the suprachiasmatic nucleus of the hypothalamus, and in response this region sends a signal to the pineal gland when the time for sleep or the time for wakefulness has come. EEG reveals that brain is active in sleep. They are categorized by different types of waves. There are beta waves. The EEG shows this activity as short, frequent, irregular brain signals. Then there are alpha waves. This is when people really focus their attention on something or when they close their eyes and relax. Brain activity slows and becomes more regular. Now we're going to discuss the stages of sleep. Stage 1, if you use an EEG to map these out, it shows theta waves. This is a very light version of sleeping that if awakened, you might not think you were sleeping. Stage 2, the EEG continues to show theta waves. This is considered real sleep. It also shows occasional bursts of activity called sleep spindles and large waves called K complexes. These are thought to be related to closing out external stimuli and keeping people asleep. Stages 3 and 4. Nowadays are typically seen as one stage because their brain activity is nearly identical. This period is marked by large, regular brain patterns called delta waves, and it is often referred to as slow wave sleep. People in slow wave sleep are very hard to wake and are often very disoriented when they do wake up. Here's a graphic from the book that lays out stages of sleep from alert wakefulness all the way to REM sleeping. REM sleep. This is the stage of sleep marked by rapid eye movements. That's what REM stands for. It's the paralysis of motor systems and dreaming. The sleep cycle reverses after about 90 minutes, returning to stage 1. It's also a stage called paradoxical sleep, where the body is asleep but the brain is active. Most dreaming occurs in REM sleep. About 80% of the time when people are awakened during REM sleep, they report dreaming. And people cycle through REM 5 times per night. There's another handy graphic from a book that lays the same information out in a different way. Sleep disorders interfere with daily life. Insomnia, you may have heard of this, is a disorder characterized by an inability to sleep that causes significant problems in daily living. An estimated 12% to 20% of adults have insomnia. It is more common in women than in men, and in older adults than in younger adults. Obstructive sleep apnea. This has become much more understood of a situation over the past few years. This is a disorder in which a person, while asleep, stops breathing because his or her throat closes. The condition results in frequent awakenings during the night. Obstructive sleep apnea is the most common among middle-aged men and is often associated with obesity, although it is unclear if obesity is the cause or consequence of apnea. It's another condition called narcolepsy. It's a sleep disorder in which people experience excessive sleepiness during normal waking hours, sometimes going limp and collapsing. During an episode of narcolepsy, a person may experience the muscle paralysis that accompanies REM sleep, perhaps causing him or her to go limp and collapse. REM behavior disorder. Sufferers act out their dreams while sleeping, often striking their sleeping partners. This is most often seen in elderly males. This is not to be confused with sleepwalking. They are still in the bed, they're just moving about. Speaking of sleepwalking, that is technically referred to as somnambulism. Sleepwalking is most common among young children. Sleep is an adaptive behavior. Humans might have advanced themselves in countless ways if they had used all of their productivity rather than wasting it by sleeping. We cannot override indefinitely the desire to sleep. Eventually our bodies shut down and we sleep whether we want to or not. Research suggests that sleep is adaptive for three functions: restoration, following of circadian rhythms, and facilitation of learning. Restoration and sleep deprivation. Restorative theory. Sleep allows the body to rest and repair itself. Sleep increases after strenuous physical activity. Growth hormones are secreted while sleeping. And the brain's energy stores are replenished. And perhaps most importantly, the immune system is strengthened. The effects of sleep deprivation show problems in mood and cognitive performance, unexpected problems with the immune system, and death as a result of a compromised immune system. Circadian rhythm and sleep. The circadian rhythm theory. Many creatures are quiet and inactive at night because the darkness makes them more vulnerable to attack. This leads to a reduced risk of exposure to predators. Humans are adapted to sleeping at night because our early ancestors were more at risk in the dark. And facilitation of learning. Sleep strengthens neural connections needed for learning to occur. Research shows memory in participants who slept was better than those who did not. REM and slow wave sleep stages 3 and 4 are important for learning to take place. Participants who completed a complex task and later dreamed about it subsequently performed better on the task than non-dreaming participants. Students spend more time in REM when they study more, such as during exam periods. And that concludes part 3 of chapter 4.